structured parenting when it comes to serious stuff like study, and go with the flow when it comes to fun. Hi everyone, my name is Shweta Sahni. I'm the founder of Alter. I'm the mother of 2 kids. Today we are going to be talking about entitlement in children. So stay tuned as we discuss more interesting things about entitlement in kids.
A shade where I have my maid who's crying, telling me her son wants an iPhone.
As a parent, you need to be very agile to be able to say, how do I now deal with this particular situation, and how do I still make sure the value system remains, but the output is what I need.
A child asks for something which is worth 100 rupees and parents are giving worth 1,000 rupees or 500 rupees. They're over pampering.
But I think it also, entitled children are also some of the most depressed children that we have.
I don't want to be the bad parent. I don't want to be thinking that my kids are not going to like me anymore.
What is that one value you really will cherish in your children?
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Good Parent, inspired by design and fueled by love. I'm Shelja Dutt, and this is Manoj Kohli, and we're going to be talking to you about parenting issues, modern parenting issues. Today, a burning subject, a subject which I think Manoj says is not only urban but suburban, it cuts across every strata of society. Are we raising a generation of very entitled children? Are we bubble wrapping them too much? What happens when your child is entitled? When do you start seeing signs? What do you do about it? And how can parents raise children who don't have that sense of entitlement? Over to you, Manoj.
You know what Shelja said about bubble wrapping is very, very true. And this started long back, maybe 300 years back, when the kings and nawabs used to do it. And the entire generation used to extinguish itself because of that. And then I've seen huge amount of industries, old industries and industrialists falling by the wayside because they bubble wrapped the next generation. And now I'm seeing a huge number of parents in urban cities, metros like Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, etc., and even in smaller towns, maybe in the upper strata of society, who are bubble wrapping their children because they have some fear or some guilt in their hearts that they should do their best for the children. Those are the issues we will talk about today.
So let's talk about the various shades of entitlement in children. So there is a shade where I have my maid who's crying. She earns 20,000 rupees a month and she's telling me her son wants an iPhone. And he yells at her because he's a 13-year-old child who's yelling at his mother. He doesn't study. He says, "Till you don't get me an iPhone, I'm not going to study." And she cries and she says, "I can't afford to do this. I don't know what to do." That's one shade of entitlement. There's another shade of entitlement that you're in a rich urban family, your house has multiple cars. And when your child is going out to be with their friends, they're going to say, "I want to take the fanciest car possible because I need to show to my friends what we have." There is a third shade of entitlement that I am not going to do anything unless I get a reward for it. So if you tell your child that I want you to clean your room, there's always so what will I get if I clean my room? So that is also a shade of entitlement. The arguing with parents about, uh, curfew time, that I need to be home by this. They're constantly arguing. My friends are allowed to do this. I need to do this. Drinking at a certain age. I mean, there's almost a sense of entitlement which says, well, my friends are doing it and their parents allow it. Why aren't you allowing it? So these are just so many shades of entitlement that we see. So much of it is linked to financial, uh, I would say, financial discrepancies or prejudices that they have. I'm better. I'm better, so I deserve this. So tell me, Manoj, in your experience, and I know both you and I have had 30, 40 years of experience of seeing this across generations, entitlement across generations. What are some of the shades of entitlement you're seeing today?
Many shades, like you described, three, four of them. I feel that the largest incidence of this is in the upper strata of society, upper middle class, maybe. Middle class, I think, is less impacted. Upper middle class and upper class, whether it's in metro city or in non-metro. Because the parents are so fearful that they have already done so much in terms of their financial success. They have achieved so much that they have to pass it on as early as possible to their children. And there's a self-pressure or self-guilt that they should pass it on. And they should not let the child feel wanting something in life. Now, it is emanating from love and affection, but it turns into a very negative impact on the child. Per contra, if you see the 125 unicorns in India, 70% of unicorns are managed by guys who are coming from small tier one, tier two, tier three towns who have, for example, there are startup guys, the unicorn guys I've met who didn't have even a scooter or a bike when they were children. They haven't seen a car. So, but they are so tech savvy, they are so hungry, and they have worked so hard, and they have really shaped and built a fantastic 1 billion, 5 billion, $10 billion institution. It all comes from hunger. So I think parents are not able to balance themselves.
But isn't entitlement also a different kind of hunger? I need this, I want this, I have to have this. It's that it's on the other side of that very fine line.
Yeah,
The line is hunger.
yeah. So,
It's
so let
just
me say it is unearned hunger. So
yeah.
either hunger could be earned, you earn it because you work hard and you earn it, and you work hard, you achieve. Here it is without any hard work, without any contribution. You seek the luxuries of life, and parents are so soft, I'll say. And I notice that every day, Sharja, that parents are becoming softer and softer by the day. A child asks for something which is worth 100 rupees, and parents are giving worth 1,000 rupees or 500 rupees. They're over pampering as if that will lead to something great in terms of outcome, which actually is completely wrong because the outcomes will be negative. Uh, Parents sometimes are not able to spend time with children because both are working. And therefore, that guilt of not spending time is overcome by gifts which are very expensive. I've seen many children taking this entitlement to the extreme of blackmail,
Yeah.
where the child, if he or she is not getting something he or she desires, he or she blackmails that I'll do this, I'll do that if you don't give it to me. And parents have not learned how to say no. That's a serious problem. From childhood, if you start saying no to any query or any demand which is unreasonable, then child is used to that. That if I'm being unreasonable, I'll get a no. And which is becoming which will be normal for the child. But if you always say yes, that is normal for the child. So
Yeah. So
if
then
you
the no becomes like a why? Why
yeah,
can't I have this?
yeah. So they'll protest and they'll be very violent. Some of them are violent. And I feel that after a few years, and Sharda, this is also very important phenomena, that after a few years when this process has started with parents and they could see the side effects of that, negative side effects, they still cannot withdraw from that parenting style. And then it becomes from bad to worse.
So what you're saying is that entitlement is eventually linked to two things. it's either linked to this fear, the fear that the parent has that if I don't do this for my child, he may lose out on his, being a part of a certain peer group or being accepted in a certain peer group, or uh, it comes from that fear, and that fear that may come from blackmail, or it comes from a sense of guilt, you know, because, and it's subconscious guilt. I'm not there. Let me overcompensate with material things. And then material things, there is no reward system. Children are just used to receiving a lot of material things. Every time the father travels, they're just gifts and gifts and gifts for the children. They just get used to a lot of material things which are not reward led. And in a way, it kills the natural dopamine cycle of the child, that I have to work hard for something, then I will achieve something, and then I will get something, which is our normal dopamine cycle. I think it also, entitled children are also some of the most depressed children that we have, because it's killing that feeling of feeling naturally good. You need to have a big car, the fanciest home, the fanciest lifestyle, the fanciest holiday to actually feel good.
Yeah. So that feeling of that I have worked hard and I achieved it,
Yes.
that is the best feeling in the world.
It's natural
It's
dopamine.
very natural. It's
Yeah.
a very natural feeling. And that feeling, if your child understands, he will do it multiple times in education, in sports, in whichever thing he does. So I'm delighted to welcome Shweta Sahni today as our guest to this very important theme of entitlement of children. Shweta is a very successful corporate real estate expert. She has domain expertise in real estate. And about 2 years back, she started her own startup, which is specializing in commercial real estate. And already she's doing so well in 2 years. So she's a mix of a great mother, happy wife, and a great corporate professional, and an entrepreneur now. So we thought it will be a great idea to talk to her, take her feedback on how an entrepreneur manages children and how she's able to keep the entitlements in check.
Thank you, Manoj and Shailja, for having me here. I'm very excited and looking forward to this chat.
What's one small behavior that signaled early entitlement in your home?
So the first time I think I really started noticing it was when my daughter Laila was born, because Abir suddenly started feeling like he owns the entire space, whether it's his room, whether it's his toys. He didn't want to share. So there was this whole thing about finding your own space. So for me, that was a big sign to say I need to kind of put him to ease, make him comfortable with the situation. Um, and yes, I think as you grow in your parenting journey, and we were just discussing this, that the second child actually teaches you how to be a parent. The first one, for the lack of a better word, you bubble wrap your first kid and you want to just
Yeah.
protect them
Yeah.
from the world. But I think as a parent, the second child really teaches you how to be how to really kind of understand yourself as a parent and what's your parenting style. So the first time I actually noticed this entitlement and the want for an entitling behavior was when Alila was born.
How did you and your husband deal with this?
And especially when they were growing up, it's young, young children's entitlement is different, but a teenager's sense of entitlement or a preteen sense of entitlement is very, very different.
I think I believe that parents lead by example. So, uh, kids really observe how parents conduct themselves, or, especially as working mothers, we are always guilty, but uh, I think we're doing a long, value system addition to the kid by, how the kids observe you while you're conducting yourself on a day-to-day basis, the struggles that they see as an entrepreneur, as a working mom. I think somewhere that message, whether you want to sit down and drive it or whether kids are just observing you on a day-to-day basis, how you are dealing with your day, your problems, your issues, I think that somewhere, kids have a lot to take away from. Even if you don't have a sit down chat, they're observing you. And I observed my parents while I was growing up. And clearly, one good thing that I think my parents did was set very firm boundaries. So I think setting the right boundaries verbally, yes, once, but reiterating, reinforcing that by leading by example and conducting yourself on a day-to-day basis of how you should be doing and dealing with things. I think that's a big starting point. At least personally for me, that was a big starting point. And I think I was also reverse learning to say, how do I keep shifting my parenting style so there is no fixed, I think, rule book of this should work or this should not work. I think you have to be very flexible with the situation per se. So this is actually a very large life lesson as well, right? That as a parent, you need to be very agile to be able to say, how do I now deal with this particular situation, and how do I still make sure the value system remains, but the output is what I need, at that point in time.
A lot of times it does happen, though, that, children, the parents model the right behavior, but children also have a lot of other influences in their life. And the question I was going to ask you was that, did you ever believe that you have ever enabled behavior which is, uh, leading to or enabling entitlement? Or have you observed, I want to pivot that question, say, have you observed external influences enabling and entitling sort of, I am entitled sort of behavior in your children? Because there are really a lot of external influences.
Yes. So Shailja, I'll pick up the what have I done unknowingly, enabling entitlement, or the behavior of feeling entitled. And I've for me, both parts of my life are very, very important. As a working mother and as a professional, I've always tried to give my best both sides, but it's never been a case where I want to leave one for the other. I've wanted to carry on with both aspects of my life, because I think these two aspects really define me as a person. Uh, so there was obviously a lot of guilt growing up professionally, and I was raising my kids at the same time. But last 2 years as an entrepreneur, I think have been extremely taxing as far as travel, as far as time getting shortened with the kids. So I have limited time now with the children. So in the beginning, I would think that I'm going to make up for the time loss by showering them with gifts. Every time I would travel, I would carry gifts back home. uh, I started realizing that the value of those gifts had really started going down. And my kids it didn't matter to them beyond the first
It's
2-3 months that
the
every
law.
time they were getting gifts, it was like,
Yeah.
okay, it's another gift that's come. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
What really, and I then reflected on this and I said, why am I doing this? I think what they really need is my time, because that's what they're missing. So I started making a routine of spending that time with them every day, half an hour, whatever time, 1 hour I can get, just dedicated, focusing on what our day's been like, and we call it the best friend time. So
Yeah.
so that's a routine in the house between me and my kids. External influences, yes, a lot of pressure. Kids get phones at 4 5 year age, and I was very, very particular about this, that there are boundaries in this house that we can't cross. We can't have our own phones because we don't need the phones. If you need to watch something on the TV, you have the TV. If you want to make a call, you have the landline, you have another phone in the house. You don't need your own phone. So that was a huge pressure, especially for my son growing up, because all his friends had phones. My son did not get a phone till he turned 12, and all his friends were carrying phones since, they were 4 or 5 year olds. So I think, yeah, some of these are definitely, things that you need to set your own boundaries and define the path for your kids.
Manoj, I was going to say this. We didn't discuss it in the episode, but really, when you are showering your children with gifts, or like you said, just continuously providing out of love, I think parents also need to know that there is a law of diminishing returns.
Absolutely.
It is like the first gift has value, the second gift even less, and by the time you're bringing in the third gift, it has no value. So when you're continuously doing this,
No,
children
parents,
just take it for granted.
I feel
Yes.
parents realize that. Like she
Yes.
realized, parents
Yeah.
realize it, but still
Yes.
they are not able to take out time.
And self-control.
Yeah,
Like
self-control.
self-control of I'm not going to get the gift. In fact, I'm going to give them the gift of my time, because time is really the only thing that doesn't.
Biggest virtue and value.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And especially if it is best friend time.
It's best friend time. Yes.
It is. It is. And that's how we call it at home. And, this whole continuing, the whole showering with gifts. One thing I started doing with my children, and this has been going on for the last 2.5, 3 years now. Every birthday of theirs or mine, we go to Salam Balak, which is a NGO, which is a trust here in Gurgaon, because I realized that feeling of gratitude for what you have, I think, is very, very critical. So we have a very small routine. It's not like we're doing anything big there, but we carry food, we carry cake, we carry some gifts for these kids, and whichever kid's birthday it is, that is, if it's Abhi's birthday or Lila's birthday, they are there cutting that cake with that set of peers, friends that they've made over the last 2, 3 years. And I think that makes them feel good about the fact that, look, what we have cannot be taken for granted. And it was very endearing that this time, so my daughter's birthday comes in July. So she's obviously excited and she's advanced birthday planning, but Salam Balak is already part of her list of what I need to do during my birthday. So the party is in the evening, but I'm going to go to Salam Balak in the morning and do what I have to do and what we've been doing. So that felt good. I felt like it's a good value system. So as a parent, if you are consciously correcting and instigating these habits and values, I think it's a very, very good starting point.
Very
It's
well
like
said.
amazing.
Very well said. Very well said. So do you think, Shweta, that parents today are more likely to say yes out of guilt or love or fear, whatever it is? And where's the line? Do you think they are able to draw the line or not?
So, Anuj, I feel that as a parent, you don't need to be a friend. And I'm a firm believer of that. I think you can be a mentor to your kids. You can, because I think mentor is a beautiful relationship. You have your mentor as a friend when he has to be a friend. Your mentor is your guide when you need that guide. So I think as a parent, you can be a mentor to your kids. And corporate entrepreneurship, I've been mentored. I have mentored people, my colleagues, my teams growing up. If we can show the path to the external environment, I think we're very, very. It's our responsibility also as parents to be mentors to our kids, because kids really need guidance. They don't need friends. They have enough friends around them. They need someone who can show them the path. They need someone who can listen to them, hear them out, give them the comfort that you'll be there for them when they need you, when they are in a situation they're not able to make up their mind. So they should have the comfort. So communication is extremely important, but again, not being excessively, not able to draw boundaries. I think drawing up boundaries and being that mentor really, really helps. At least I've tried that with my children. I think earlier there was this dilemma to say, I don't want to be the bad parent. I don't want to be thinking that my kids are not going to like me anymore. Um, I realize that these are all short term, concerns that we have. But in the long run, if you're going to be able to raise a good child with a good value system, I think as a parent, that's what the priority should be.
I have to tell you that I completely resonate with what you're saying as a mother. I just never wanted to be my kid's best friend.
Yeah.
I mean, I am, and that's a privilege, but I never wanted to be. I just wanted to be their mother. I wanted to be the person who defined what was right and wrong, what helped them choose between that, draw the boundaries,
Yes.
because children really need boundaries.
Really need boundaries. Yes.
So draw the boundaries and yet be a safe space where they can confide in me
Yes.
and talk to me if they wanted to.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times parents forget that, and that line gets very blurred between I want to be a friend
Yes.
and so I'm going to behave in a different way
Yes.
with my child.
Clearly, schools are also these days extremely overprotective about how kids need to be given feedback on performance, on participation. Like I keep telling my children, the first time I ever went on stage was when I was in grade 12, because we had a very serious selection criteria of who could go on stage and who could not. There was no entitlement there, right? You had to be a certain level of good if you had to go on stage in school to perform. In their cases, on an annual day or a form morning, the entire class performs, which is great, but I just feel that we are overprotecting our kids. There has to be some sense of the real world outside, and I feel that it starts from school. So you can't really, and they spend a good part of their day in school in that environment, so which is great, which is a safe space, secure space. But are we really making the kids ready for facing the real world? What happens beyond school, beyond high school?
Yeah, I think it's less about children, it's more about parents. I feel that they feel bad. I don't think children feel bad.
Yeah.
Today's parents feel as if they should not do it.
Yes.
So Shweta, what's one value which you hope your child will carry, your children will carry with them for life, even in a world of abundance where you and your husband have everything? What is that one value you really will cherish in your children?
I think hard work, because there is no shortcut. And I think even if you're able to over provide for your children, um, they need to work hard to keep it. So there is no entitlement on the fact that I'm going to get so much inheritance, because I think hard work is one key value system where you won't go wrong as a life value, clearly. And clearly, hard work followed by discipline, and two of the biggest value systems that I personally believe in. And I think they've held me in good stead so far. I'd really, wish my kids pick up both of these values, looking at what we are doing at home on a day-to-day basis. And so, yeah, for me, it's these two.
Thank you so much. This was so wonderful talking to you, and I'm sure that everyone's learned a lot. I know I have, and there were moments of reflection where I've had similar situations, a similar feeling, and I think it's entrepreneurial mommies, resonating with each other. But I loved what you said, and I think you addressed a lot of very burning issues with very simple solutions. So thank you so much for that. It was wonderful to have you as a guest.
Thank you so much, Elja. It's such a pleasure to be here. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts. And thank you, Manoj. Thanks for having me over. It was a pleasure.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
So entitlement in children, we've learned, is not a child's problem. It really truly is the parent's problem. And it's very deeply rooted in the parent's behavior. We've learned that counter or disable entitlement, you have to encourage patience, accountability, and gratitude. And you must start doing that in your homes. We must equip children to thrive not with just the advantages they have, but with the values that we instill in them. And entitlement is not about children demanding things. It's about a mindset.
No, please remember that entitlement is a behavior you have to consciously avoid in children. And that can only be avoided if a good habit of earning everything is instilled into the child at the early stage of childhood. Thank you for tuning in into Good Parent, inspired by design, fueled by love.
And please don't forget to hit the share, subscribe, follow button.